Hello everyone. I want to tell you guys something. I'm studying something about myself, maybe about my background, my family background, maybe my childhood, maybe my past, my life. The life experiences module of my mental wellness process does address it, but I think the other modules should address it as well. Accountability, discipline, and mind and body awareness, and life purpose. The life experiences module is the validation piece, and I've been asking a lot of questions lately. Since I don't have a therapist, I'm not a therapist, but I do a lot of research on the web, and I got an answer last night to a question that is pretty disturbing. If you'll excuse me, I want to make sure the recording is still going, because my screen just turned off. I think I'm going to go ahead and just make this recording. Sorry about the chair squeaking. According to some information that I gleaned on the web, it starts with this: understanding the behavior. Now, I asked a question, and the question went something like this. What do you call it when a man or a woman beat up a child or a vulnerable adult? Now, I mentioned physical beating, but I'm sure that verbal beating and psychological and emotional beating is valid. I was so upset last night when I asked the question that I forgot to mention that, but factor in emotional abuse too, and whatever you're dealing with, verbal abuse. And this might be graphic, so I'm going to give you guys a moment to take care of yourselves. Maybe sit down and ground yourself. Might be a good idea to do some meditation or calming down after you hear this. The question is, what do you call a man or a woman who beats the you-know-what out of a child or a vulnerable adult, and then the adult goes to, the man or the woman goes to another person that is prettier to them than the child or the vulnerable adult said, and has intimate relations with them. I'm talking about when many humans, I'm not going to say all, when many human beings hurt other human beings, and then they love some human beings and they hurt others. And I'm talking about this because I went through this when I was a child. I went through this. Now, the person that raised me did not severely beat me up, but she might as well have, verbally and emotionally, because I don't have any self-confidence right now, and I'm 57 years old. I went through some challenges for the past few days. I'm safe, disclaimer, I'm safe, and I promise I'll put myself in a safe place if I'm not. And I had a couple of episodes of very severe depression, and I went through a couple of episodes of self-harm. And they're not really severe episodes. They're very, very mild. And I know why it happened. I was very strongly triggered. And I started having memories. And I know that adults will do this kind of thing to a person. And it leaves you, I'll speak for myself, but I'll speak in the second person. It leaves you feeling like you want to just, you hate yourself so much, especially when you go through something challenging, you know, whether it's a financial stress or a thing, you know, interaction with another person or anything challenging in your life. When life gets lifey. Oh, I'm not going to be able to put this up on Clapper. Yeah, 3 minutes. My 3 minutes are up. It's 5 minutes and 30 seconds. You're going to be left hating yourself and wanting to hurt yourself if you have a history of what I just mentioned, or if you're exposed to it, if you see, maybe even if you see someone else go through it. But the research I did, the question was answered, and it went like this. Now, you guys, if you have an issue with me asking AI questions, you can turn this podcast or video off right now and go somewhere else. Because AI can get information all over the internet about the questions you want to ask. And it has been really helping me lately. And it might help the next person. So if you leave a comment saying don't trust AI or don't ask AI, I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to treat it like you're trying to silence me again. And I will not be silenced anymore. This is a very pernicious form of abuse and trauma that I will talk about, that I will read about right now, that AI helped me with. Now think about the question. What is it called when a person hurts someone and then loves someone else? You know, that whether they're playing favorites with a child, they love the golden child, or they love the golden wife, or the golden husband, or the golden girl, or the golden boy, or the golden man, or the golden woman, and then they the black sheep, you know, the one they don't like, the one that's not their favorite, they beat the or they psychologically torture them all the time. Now, when my mom passed away, my aunt before was my friend, and yes, she was my companion. She didn't really act like a parent. She acted more like a friend. And a child needs a parent. Excuse me. When she didn't like something about me, she didn't love me then. And after my mother died, she hated being my parent. And she basically stopped being my friend and became my parent. And because she had to be my parent, and she didn't want to be. It was more convenient for her to be my friend while my mother was still alive. So she would continually psychologically and verbally abuse me, and she would call her boyfriends and her lovers her dreams come true and favor them over me. And I know that there are different kinds of love. I know that when you fall in love with someone, that's an adult thing. When you have intimate relations with someone, it's an adult thing. And when you love a child, you have to do it in a very special way. You have to take care of them. You have to build them up. You have to give them affection, but not conditional romantic affection. You have to give them parental affection. And if you don't have the tools to do that, that child's going to suffer. And I did. My aunt didn't want to or know how to love a child. I think she knew how to care for a child. You know, she cared for her pets and she cared for me. She met my basic needs, but she didn't love me. She only knew how to love her favorite people, the people that sparkled and shone and were colorful and entertaining and fun and funny. They were other adults, and sometimes I think they were the neighbor children. I don't know, you know, but she would, after my mother's death, she would never love me. She always loved the neighbors' children and my classmates at school, my friends, the friends I was able to make. I think if I'd had cousins or siblings, she would have loved them more than me. I was an only child. But she always loved the adults first. They were her favorites. Her boyfriend was her favorite. Her best friend was her favorite. And I was nothing. So, put an analogy here. That is analogous and equivalent to someone getting beaten up every day to the point where they lose consciousness and they're on the ground bleeding to death. Only it's psychological. And I've sometimes had dreams about watching women getting beaten. Sorry, men. I know you get beaten too, and I'm glad you're talking about it, really. But historically, it's often been women and children beaten up. And then sometimes the nightmares I would have, the dreams I would have would be about witnessing. I had a dream one time where I witnessed in the dream, this wasn't real, this was a dream, but I know it can happen in real life. I dreamed about watching a man driving a woman around and kicking her out of the car, and then picking up another woman, a Barbie doll supermodel woman, and having relations with her in the car, while the woman he kicked out of the car is sobbing and begging him to come back and pick her up. And he's laughing at her and laughing his other woman. Whew, I hope to God I don't get kicked off the social media for talking about this. I want to disclaimer this again. I'm not a professional, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a clergyman, I'm not whatever, but I'm talking about what I've experienced. I'm talking about what I am combating and confronting right now that has been triggered by my recent present life experiences, financial issues, and having gotten kicked out of the IOP program a couple months ago, and being rejected by a woman that I had a crush on. And I'm struggling trying to maintain my mental wellness process and, all these triggers. So here's the answer to the question that AI generated. To address this question, we need to break it down into two distinct components. The act of violence or abuse against a vulnerable individual, such as a child or adult. The subsequent behavior of engaging in intimate relations with someone else, seemingly without remorse or acknowledgment of the harm caused. These two behaviors are deeply troubling and may stem from complex psychological and sociological factors. Below, I will analyze each component step by step and provide insight into whether there is a scientific term that encapsulates this specific pattern of behavior. The act of abuse. The first part involves a physical or emotional abuse, which is defined as the intentional use of force or psychological manipulation that results in physical or psychological injury, pain, or trauma to another person. When this abuse is directed at a child or vulnerable adult, it often falls under the category of domestic violence or child abuse. Scientifically, such behavior can be linked to several psychological disorders or personality traits. Again, AI, I think, gleaned this information from all over the internet. Antisocial personality disorder, ASPD. Individuals with ASPD often exhibit a lack of empathy, disregard for others' rights, and impulsive aggression. Narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. Abusers with NPD may use violence as a way to assert dominance and control over others while lacking remorse for their actions. Intermittent explosive disorder, IED. This disorder involves sudden episodes of extreme anger and physical aggression disproportionate to the situation. Again, I went through more mental abuse than physical abuse, but imagine every day being told, I want to hit you. I wish I could hit you, but I know that I shouldn't. That kind of stuff. I was scared every day she was going to hit me, and sometimes she did. And when she did, she hit me very, very severely. It's like she would lose her temper, really lose her temper, and she'd beat me up. She did beat me up a couple of times in my life. In cases where the victim is left severely injured or unconscious, or in emotional abuse cases, shut down, very, very shut down, very depressed, just dead inside, this behavior constitutes severe physical, emotional abuse and could also be classified legally as assault. Step 2. Engaging in intimate relations immediately after abuse. The second part involves the abuser engaging in intimate relations with someone else immediately after committing an act of violence, physical and emotional. This behavior reflects an extreme level of emotional detachment from their actions and their consequences. It suggests lack of empathy. The abuser shows no concern for the suffering they have caused. Objectification. Both the abused person and the other partner that they're having relations with may be treated as objects rather than individuals with feelings and autonomy. The golden child versus the black sheep, the favorite versus the non-favorite. Compartmentalization. The abuser separates their violent actions from other aspects of their life, such as seeking pleasure or intimacy. This type of behavior could be associated with certain psychological conditions. Psychopathy, a subset of ASPD, antisocial personality disorder, characterized by shallow emotions, lack of guilt, manipulativeness, and callousness. Sexual sadism disorder. Wow. In some cases, individuals derive pleasure from causing pain to others and may seek sexual gratification afterward. Yeah, I've heard of abusers being turned on when they beat up their people, or when they see their people cry and squirm. They get pleasure, they get horny, and then they go and have sex, or they even have sex with their victims, like makeup sex, and that's, oh God. Malignant narcissism, a combination of narcissistic traits with antisocial tendencies that include cruelty and exploitation. Is there a scientific term for this specific pattern? Because I was asking AI what it was called. Is there anything scientific you can tell me? Why is this why does this happen? Well, there isn't one single scientific term that precisely describes this exact sequence: beating someone severely, followed by engaging in intimate relations. There are terms that describe aspects of this behavior. Disinhibition. This refers to a lack of restraint over impulses, leading to aggressive acts followed by unrelated indulgent behaviors like sex. Callous, unemotional traits. These traits are marked by a profound lack of empathy or guilt combined with manipulative tendencies. Duality in psychopathy. Psychopaths often exhibit compartmentalized behaviors where they can commit heinous acts, but then engage in normal or even pleasurable activities without remorse. Like, in other words, they can beat the crap out of their wife and then run off and have drinks with their friends. However, if we were to describe this specific pattern scientifically within existing frameworks, I went through an experience where one of my aunt's boyfriends beat me, and then 5 minutes later he's watching football and eating walnuts and petting the dog. Oh. It could be categorized under behaviors associated with severe forms of psychopathy or antisocial personality disorder. The combination of violence followed by sexual activity might also suggest elements related to paraphilic. Wow. Paraphilic, not pedophile, not pedophile. Paraphilic disorders if there is sexual gratification derived from the act itself. There is no single scientific term that fully encapsulates this exact pattern, severe abuse followed by unrelated intimate relations, but it aligns closely with traits seen in psychopathy, malignant narcissism, antisocial personality disorder, and callous unemotional traits. These behaviors reflect extreme emotional detachment, lack of empathy, objectification, and possible compartmentalization commonly observed in individuals with these psychological profiles. And it's suggesting to me, for further understanding or diagnosis in real-life scenarios involving such patterns, consulting mental health professionals specializing in forensic psychology would be essential. Forensic psychology, I think I'm going to look that up next. I didn't know there was a branch. I've never heard of that, but I have now. Oh, forensic. You know, when I hear the word forensic, I think about death. I think about someone dying. You know, coroner stuff. You know, we're talking about coroner and, you know, maybe crime. I don't know. But I was asking this question also because I was having self-harm episodes, and I think that those episodes were coming from being treated like that by my caregiver. You know, it was like she would be hot and cold. She would, and her boyfriends, you know, her boyfriend, I called him Uncle. I won't mention his, you know, I'll make up a name, Uncle Fred. I called him Uncle Fred, and he would beat me, and then he would watch football. You know, he wouldn't even tell me to go to my room. He would slap me across my face, and then he would watch football. Or he'd yell at me and threaten to hit me. And then he would be giving the dog a bath and talking gently and sweetly to the dog after he did that to me. One time, I can remember times when he beat me so severely that I was trembling all over, and even my aunt got angry with him and threatened to kick him out. And sometimes I wish that she would. So it's not okay to be that way. It's not okay to have that happen to us. You know, whether it's physical or psychological, it's not okay. And when it's normalized by just, you know, forgetting about it. After my stepfather assaulted me, I forgot about it because the other adults told me to forget about it. And when my stepfather tried to come home, tried to, you know, reconcile with my mom, my mother ordered me never to talk about him again. She kicked him out again. She wouldn't let him come back. I know why now, but back then I didn't. I didn't know why we couldn't live together and be a family. She told me to go play outside and forget about it, and I did. And the result was that part of me shut down. My need for a dad shut down. Today I forgive my mother. It was a very painful divorce. And if she knew what happened to me, what he did to me, she probably didn't want to deal with it. I don't blame her. She was still my mom, and I needed a mom. After that, I spent 9 months in a mental institution. I was only 5 years old. So this kind of behavior has been normalized for generations. And it's time to stop. It's time to denormalize it. It's not normal. There's something very wrong with that behavior, that logic, that reasoning, that attitude. And it probably has been hurting billions of children on the planet. And billions of vulnerable adults, billions of adults and children. But I went through it as a child. It was hell. Not being loved anymore because you're not their favorite. And knowing that someone else is their favorite. And just, being completely and totally devastated. I mean, if it's bad enough for an adult going through a breakup, being rejected, it's got to be hell for a child, and it was hell for me. I had my first self-unaliving impulse when I was 11, and I'm glad today I'm working through that, and I'm not that way anymore. But I know there are people on this planet that are more than happy to do that to me again. And it has been done to me. And we need to stop it. Just like we need to stop crazy behavior in our country and on our planet. We gotta stop child abuse. That is a very insidious, subtle form of child abuse. It must be stopped.